on. We're all on mute. I don't know what happened there. We're all on mute when we come off. How you doing, guys? Welcome back to the Two Tonys podcast. This is episode number 4. And we're here to talk some NFL schedules, and in particular, the Chicago Bears schedule leaks that have come out over the last sort of 24 hours. But before we jump into that, Ant-Man, how's things? Where are you in the world this week? We were Oslo last week. Where are you just now, man?
I'm in Stockholm this week, and I'll be in Malmo next week, and eventually I'll get back to Gothenburg.
This
Don't know
guy
where
gets
the
it.
weather will be, but eventually I'll get back there.
That's good. Do you
No,
spend
I'm in
any time
Stockholm.
in the house?
Sorry, I don't. I've moved on from the shed to just random hotel rooms. So that's where I am at the moment. I'm in Stockholm in a place called Kista, which is like a big venue that runs an exhibition. So it's nice, it's cool. I had a couple of glasses of wine. I had me Coca-Cola here, me, and I had these things, right? So these are like sweets, right? They're Swedish sweets called bilar. They're basically, right, little kind of, best way I can put it, they're like these little things. Where are they? So they're like little cars, marshmallow
All
cars.
right. All
They're
right.
fucking nice. Because the Swedish word for car is bil. So
Right.
bilar. So there you
Well,
go. You learn something new every day.
Listen, guys, we don't just talk to you about the Bears. You get an education on here.
You're
You get
welcome.
a tour of North Europe as well with Ant,
Yeah.
which I think should be a travel show coming to your
Should
screens at
be.
some point.
Imagine me doing a travel show. It'd be great crack. I wouldn't have a clue where I was going. My
Listen,
knowledgeable
talking
skills,
about.
my
Sorry, what are
knowledgeable
you going to
skills
say
of
there now?
anywhere. My knowledgeable skills of anywhere geographically. If there wasn't a sat nav created, I'd just be going round in circles. Be entertaining to watch. I haven't a clue when it comes to navigation outside. If sat nav says turn left, and I still get lost, but it's good crack. Let's
Yeah,
talk about the fact that the Bears are playing the Vikings, supposedly game 1.
this is the big one. Just before we get on to that, though, talking about travel, Lee is currently in Tunisia. I'm assuming you're on holiday, man. How you doing? So we've got I don't know if we've ever had anyone from Tunisia or inside Tunisia watch us before. So just walk around Tunisia, show your phone off to people, get them to get involved, and I want to know what they think about the schedule release. Now, earlier on in the day, I said, give me a divisional match, week 1, go out there, make a point, take back the North. All that stuff I've been threatening to do since Ryan Post came in. Actually, let's do it. Let's get that big, high-profile game. And lo and behold, an hour or so later, it gets unofficially announced that the Bears will be. I think they're hosting the Vikings in week 1. So Soldier Field, week 1, season opener. It's going to be a big one, man. What
Monday Night Football.
You thinking when that came out?
Monday Night Football, it sounds like, which is even better. It means that I don't get any sleep at all. No, it's look. I agree with you. It took. Remember last year? I think we didn't play a divisional rival to week 11 or something. So it's good to get those going early on, get them started off. And it's not the Packers, so there's not that drama with it. It's not the Lions, which is a tough one to start with. Even though supposedly we have the Lions away week 2, but I think the Vikings is a game that you can look into it and go, yeah, look, it's an NFC North team. They're very, very good. I'm not suggesting they're not, but I think we need to get ready for Monday Night Football under the lights in Soldier Field. It's a statement game. It will be a statement game that you want to go out there and prove that you're definitely going as close as we possibly can to really see where we are. I think it'll be a tester as well. New head coach, new scheme, new system, new offensive platform in essence. So I think that's exciting to watch.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. But regardless of how good or bad the Vikings or anybody else in the NFC North is, I just think for me personally, it's like such a tremendous opportunity to try and dispel any of that stuff. Like, oh, you haven't come up against any of your divisional rivals until week 10 or whatever it was in the last year and all this kind of stuff. So, you have it week 1, you put down the marker, you go out there, you get the win. And winning these divisional games are huge. Obviously, do you know what I mean? You want to try and finish as far up in that division as you can. So I think it's a great situation to be in. The only thing I will say is historically, the Bears, when they go prime time, seem to shy away from the camera and start to make a bit of a pig's ear of it. But is that because of who we've had at the helm over the last few years? in Matt Eberflus. Like we there's obviously got to be reasons for it, because there's other games when it's the noon kickoff and they go out there and they look like a totally different team. So for me, it'd be great to see them sort of get on a prime time in front of everybody and show what they're actually capable of. But what a game to start, though. Monday Night Football. The only bad thing, other than that, is that actually two bad things. One, we need to wait until Monday night for the game. When the season's going to start on the Thursday, you get that whole few days there ahead of you. And two, as you mentioned already, I'm going to have to stay up stupid o'clock in the morning on Monday night to watch this. So I'm going to have to go to work tomorrow, book Tuesday off for just in case, because I'm not going to go into work the next day, certainly not in the morning anyway. We talked about this already. We wanted as many 12 o'clock kickoffs as possible. The first 4 games that were announced were all prime time games. So see the Bears. People want to see the Bears. That's what I'm taking from this, man.
Yeah, I think there's an intrigue around Ben Johnson. There's an intrigue around what we've done, and this whole like you've won the off season crap. But I think there is something. Caleb year 2. I think there's a lot more optimism going into it. But look, as I said, it's a statement game, because if you win that, you're then going into the Lions with a lot more optimism. And look, we've ran Detroit close. Then the whole thing, Ben Johnson's first away game as a head coach, goes back to Detroit. There's a nice story connected to that as well. So, look, I'm not underestimating the Vikings. They won 14 games last year. Good, very good head coach, very good defensive coach. So it's definitely going to put a lot of pressure. I think you'll see a lot of blitzing, as they always do with that defensive coordinator. So it's definitely there for an interesting time. And look, we are so far away. We don't know what each team's going to look like, but it's exciting because we get to know who we're playing, and it's exciting that there's a future. Now, I will say this. I wonder what rubbish we will have for a Bears announcement of the season fixtures like we normally do. If they had you on Anna Ager again, I think I might puke, because I'm sick and tired of watching her be given money by Chicago Bears to do some sort of rubbishy Packers thing in the middle of
I want to see them get imaginative, man. I wanted to see them think outside the box. One of my favourite ones was, it was maybe about 10 years ago now, maybe not as long ago, and it was Israel Adonijah. I think there was Israel Adonijah. I can't remember. Some sort of defensive lineman was big into drawing comic books, and they made like a comic book sort of drawing for each of the games, which was really cool. Really like that one. So yeah, we want to try and get something a wee bit original, but fun at the same time.
No, the one that Tennessee did with their fans was brilliant. Where they got their fans to show the logos. I hadn't a clue. I love that. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. What was the one they had? There was someone going I think it was the Cowboys they had, and it was like, I don't know what they called it. It was brilliant. It was actually hilarious, and they did it 2 years in a row. And I like that kind of idea. They should. I don't know what you could do with Chicago. Maybe get it, compare it to food or something. I have no idea, but it's as you say, a bit of imagination, a bit of thought process into a bit of fun as well about it. That's what you want. I remember the one with the bus was rubbish. Remember they had a bus or something, a cartoon bus, and they had all the mascots in the bus and all. It was not funny and it wasn't creative.
Generally, I don't remember most of this stuff, to be honest with you, man. Like I actually struggle to remember even bits of games like a few months after they've happened. Like for all I'm sitting watching it, like the event escapes me. I remember the score. I remember a couple of bits and bobs from it, but unless I actually go back and watch it, I don't remember it. So me going to be able to remember that stuff is zero chance there at all. But the mascots, man, is a good one. Like my sons are obsessed with watching mascots fighting with each other and like playing against each other and doing all the stuff in the stands, man. I think the mascots are key. And we need to sort of up our game with that stuff, man. We need to up our game with that stuff over this side of the pond. The Americans do it very, very well. We don't. Our mascots are very, very boring.
Yeah, they are.
Who's the West Ham mascot?
It's a hammer, right? So it's like because they're known as the Irons, which is what they were called originally, and it's just a massive hammerhead. It's rubbish. It's terrible. What's Celtics?
We've got Hoopy the Hound, so it's basically a dog who's kind of running about, and he's fine. He's a good laugh, I suppose. Doesn't he mess on the carpet? Doesn't mess on the the field. So that's all you can ask for with a dog, to be fair, But he's getting on a bit. So, maybe it's time to shake things up a wee bit. Listen, there's about 100, it's over 140 you guys watching the minute. Thanks very much. Get your comments in wherever you're watching. Let us know what you think about the game, the slate of games that have been announced so far.
Before we go on to that,
yeah,
you were mentioning about before we go on to that, you were mentioning about dogs. I have a friend of mine who just got a puppy, right? And the poor dog, not the poor dog, but training a puppy isn't easy. It's a bit like trying to train a quarterback, I suppose. And you're like, you think you've got it made, and suddenly out of nowhere, there's a big pee and poo in the middle of your carpet, and you're back to square one. You always kind of feel a bit sorry for anyone trying to train an animal, because
there's definitely been a few quarterbacks that have definitely shat themselves on the field, man.
Completely.
We've got a few quite close to home that we've had over the years as well. So, but listen, we're not going to bring up that old debate.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Joe, that was one of my. I know it was. Everybody said it was toxic and talking about this, but I thought it was a great. I love to have a debate with folk. I do. I love having a debate. I love having a conversation. It doesn't have to be an argument. That's the thing. It doesn't have to be an argument. You can have a conversation with passion without everybody falling out. And I did enjoy that with certain people. Other folk take it too seriously, and some folk are still going on about it. But aye, look, I'm going on about it just now. But there you go.
That's because you were right. That's the annoying part. When Tony's right, he keeps coming. He never mentions the running back scenario.
You've got a theory. Tell me your theory, man. Come back to your comments.
What's your theory, Lee?
Come back to your comments in a second, man. Tanner here as well. Out of the 7 times Mike Flores' offense got 30 points scored in them, Ben Johnson was responsible for 4 of them. So, yeah, I mean, we know what Ben Johnson's offenses are capable of. And I think that's where we're getting sorry, I've got a baby trying to break into this room at the minute. I think that's why we're getting so hyped up about what the Bears can do. And I think for us, and you'll agree with me, it's just about seeing guys in a Bears uniform scoring 30 points every game or upwards of 30 points every game. That's where we kind of want to get to. Eventually, these games are dragging out. We're scoring like 12 points and, it's happening in the last...
points against the New England Patriots at home. Remember that game?
It's pretty bad.
How do you score no? Jokes aside, how do you score no points at home in an NFL game? That's a question.
I would say it's got to be more difficult not to score points than it is to score points. Yeah. At some point, you're going to get that opportunity.
Serious question: how do you not score points in the NFL? How? I mean, 2 plays and you're down into the red zone if you get it right. Well, and even if one of them is a kickoff return, takes you over the halfway. It blows my mind sometimes. It's a bit like in football. The close thing you do in soccer in the UK or Ireland or whatever, close thing is you don't get a corner. It's that level. It's you've not just been dominated. You've been embarrassed. Yeah. And we've watched some games. I remember the one that stood out the most to me was the Kansas City game there 2 years ago, and that was just 47-3 at halftime or something. It was just. And I was at like 2:00 in the morning in Ireland or Sweden, wherever I was watching. And in multiple locations, black turtleneck, and it's his new James Bond. Yeah, damn right. I've come out of the shade and I've just exploded. This new show has brought out a new side of me.
Ant's getting fancy. He's sitting there with the turtleneck on. He's drinking wine. He's wine. He's staying in his hotel. He's jet setting around Northern Europe, man. This is a different guy.
Getting tattoos and everything. Where's
he's tattooed as well?
Getting tattoos and everything. Do you know what my tattoo says? Where does it say? Life is fucking fun.
Well, we hope it is anyway.
I think it is. What's the point of not enjoying it?
It should be fun. It should be fun.
It should be. And that's why when you watch the Bears, sometimes it can't be fun. But this time, I think this season's going to be that little bit more entertaining.
We should make some sort of commitment to maybe getting some sort of tattoo if the Bears do something at some point this season.
If the Bears, okay, here we go. Let's try that. If the Bears win the NFC, I'll get something like, I don't know, Caleb's better than Justin T-shirt or fucking tattoo.
A T-shirt. We're talking tattoo here, man.
Tattoo my arse with Caleb's face or something. I don't know. Come up with something.
So hold on a wee second here. We're talking about winning the NFC North or the NFC in general.
Oh, NFC.
Right.
NFC.
Okay.
Jesus, I
Okay.
expect them to win the North at some stage. But no,
Okay.
NFC. And then if you win the Super Bowl, Tony, you've got a tattoo. I don't know what you got to do with your face or something. Got to do something. What are
No,
you doing to my arse?
I'll tattoo most places. I can't go with the face though, man. Like,
Do you ever see the
no,
lads
no
with the
offense
neck
to anybody that
tattoos?
does tattoo their face, but I can't get on board with it. It's just, it's not for me. It gives off the
Do you
wrong
ever,
vibe.
do you ever see the lads who tattoo their neck on? That must be sore.
Aye, aye. I wouldn't be up for that, man. Fuck that for a carry on. No, no
Right.
chance.
What are we worried
Listen,
about with the? What are we worried about with the Vikings? What do we know about the Vikings?
well, this is the thing. Like, I think at this point in the off season, you really kind of all you can go off is of last season.
Yeah.
But you know that obviously there's been additions made there, but you know, again, even with the same with the Bears, like until it actually happens in the field, you don't know what's going to happen. But I think you maybe just look at the differences in the coaching setup and the success that the individual coordinators have had, and certainly you can feel that maybe Ben Johnson is slightly further ahead in that sense. So for me, I'm really looking forward to seeing us go up against our fellow NFC North people. Obviously, we've got the Vikings in week 1, week 2 as well. We're at Detroit, which is going to be the sort of start of that Ben Johnson revenge tour. So to have those 2 NFC North games back to back is really interesting because, as I said, it sets the tone for what's going to happen moving forward. And especially for the Bears as well. Now, I don't think week 3 or week 4 has been announced yet, so I don't know who that's going to be. But as far as I'm aware, week 5 is going to be a bye, which is very early in the season to have your bye. You'd probably rather
Yeah.
have it, you know, midway or towards the end anyway. But you know, regardless, it's early on. So what you want to do is you want to come out the traps and hopefully get 4-0, go into the bye week, feel a bit kind of then take some time to kind of gather where you are at that point, fix whatever's going wrong, and then come back out again. So it's a good opportunity in the sense that you don't have to go too far into the season before you get a week to then really kind of look at things and try and sort things out. But then at the same time, it isn't great because then you've got the whole rest of the season to go there. But yeah, for me, the Vikings and Lions game they're going to be so key to what happens there, and especially going up to Detroit in week 2 as well. Ben Johnson going back to the place that he's been at for the last few years. I think it's going to be. I wouldn't be surprised if. I mean, I don't know where they're playing or sorry what time they're playing or whatever. I don't think it's going to be prime time, but I would absolutely have the Bears and the Lions as a prime time game later on in the year if they were to be kind of neck and neck at that point in the NFC North. Although I'm not entirely sure what when they play the Lions again later on in the season. It's probably going to come up in this wee thing that's
Last
scrolling
game of
by
the
here.
year, I think they're playing them. I think they're playing them last up. I think that's what I saw somewhere. The one thing I'd
Week
say about
18. It's week 18, isn't it? It's the
yeah,
last game of the season. So that's like a potential flex game
yeah,
depending on what happens. So yeah, to bookend the season with NFC North and NFC North is a huge one. Where are you at with the Vikings and the Lions and how we sort of measured up to them?
I think like I'm looking here now at some of the Lions or the Vikings moves, and you got to say it's not bad. I mean, Jonathan Allen, defensive tackle out of Washington, Jason Hargrave, another defensive tackle they got. I like the move for Kelly, the center. I think that's a smart move. Byron Murphy, the cornerback, as well as another one. Aaron Jones, obviously returning as well. Jeff Okuda, be former first round pick out of Detroit. It's a nice. It'll be an interesting one that they got there. So they have made decent moves. They didn't have much capital in the draft from memory, but still they've got decent players in there. And I think they are like they're it's the NFC North, so they've got good football players. They won't be scared coming to Chicago, if I'm honest. I disagree with you, Lee. I think those 2 defensive tackle moves are pretty good. It stores them up there, getting Aaron Jones back after 1 year where he had a bit of a beast year for them. And that's an interesting one. How his body is handling everything as he gets older. He's always done well against Chicago. No problem coming to Soldier Field and playing well. So I think that's an interesting one. Vikings are one of those teams that you think you're going to win, but they're actually better than you think it is.
Yeah.
So from that side, I think there's fun that you can have with that. On the flip side of it, I think there's more entertainment you can have out of all of these things. It gets fun, I suppose, when you start thinking what exactly could you have, what the overall kind of element to it. That'll be entertaining to watch too. So it's definitely a challenge one, and you kind of go to see what that looks like. It's a longer term potential, really, I suppose.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
I'd be interested. I'd be interested to see what Detroit or what's it called? What they're like before week one.
yeah, no, absolutely. Like that's going to be sort of interesting to see. And I'm not actually sure who Detroit play in week one. I can check that in a wee second. But sticking with the Vikings for the minute, like yeah, I think you're spot on in terms of, they've definitely solidified the interior of that line. Javon Hargrave was a guy that, I was really keen on picking up last off season with the Bears. Obviously, that went for big money elsewhere at that point, but interesting to see how that materializes. But the big talking point really has got to be the quarterback for the Vikings and JJ McCarthy and how he's going to look, because effectively his first NFL start is going to be week one, Monday Night Football at the Bears. Do you know what I mean? Like, and he's a Chicago kid as well, so he's going to be coming back. There's going to be a lot of family there as well, I would imagine. So that's one of those things where in that situation, you either come out and it does wonders for you in the sense that you're thriving under the pressure, or it goes the other way and you sort of like you crack, and I don't, nothing would ever be made either way. I don't think a JJ McCarthy if either of those things were to happen. But in terms of for the Bears, it's great to have that sort of shine, or not shine, the spotlight taken off of Caleb being the starting guy in that first week, and all eyes for the some part are on JJ McCarthy and how he sort of performs as effectively he's a rookie. I mean, he's not started any games. I mean, obviously he's been in the league for a year, but still, it's not quite the same thing. How do you think that the JJ McCarthy thing's gonna work out?
Yeah, that's an interesting one as to what they do there. Again, it goes back to he has a lot of help in the sense of he'll have that. O'Connell's a good coach. I think O'Connell, what he did last year with Darnold shows that he knows what he's doing with quarterbacks. They've gone all in with JJ McCarthy. They do have, what's the guy from the Giants? He's there. Daniel Jones is the backup. Not the worst backup to have, I suppose. So that's an interesting one. I think Brett Rippon is there as well, ironically enough. I think that's kind of funny. But I think I'll be honest, I'm more interested in what Chicago.
He was at the Bears last season, wasn't he?
He was, yeah, that's why I think it's funny. He seems to be everywhere. That lad, that's the ultimate job, isn't it? To be like the third quarterback on a team. You're never going to play, and you're going to probably get a couple of $1 million guaranteed.
Chase Daniel has made so much money doing next to nothing, and now he's making even more money with his horrific takes on football in the studio. Fair play to the guy. He keeps getting
do you know what, Tony? Honestly, I'd love that. Imagine that was your job, or backup kicker, or like long snapper or something. Just like you're going to be in and around the squad. You get your free kit, so you can think you're cool, and you'll probably get $1 million. Like what's 1.1 is the minimum or something. So let's say after tax you get $500,000 to sit in your bank account to do nothing. And then if they win something, you get a medal and a ring and all. You're thinking you're great. I'm all for that. I think that's a great way to live your life.
Generally speaking, I'm of the opinion that you could probably mesh positions together and save yourself a roster spot, or certainly save yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like, for example, long snapper. Surely we could just get someone on the team to also long snap. Do you know what I mean? This is an open heart surgery we're talking about here. It's not like a specialist thing.
But isn't it your cousin who's currently at the Bears? You wouldn't want that.
Big Scott, Big Scott Daly, good guy. Didn't have him over for Thanksgiving this year because
busy.
I don't know him. So yeah, that's the biggest reason.
For me, didn't Cole Kmet do the long snapping or something at the London game? I remember him doing long snapping or punting or I don't know. I agree with you. I think some of those, but it's also, John, I don't like as well. On this subject, I love it. There's so many coaches. Why do you
Mm.
need 400 coaches? Like, oh, I've got a line coach and an offensive coach and a talking coach and a reading coach and a taking my dog out for a walk coach. That's another thing as well, by the way, when you've got a puppy. They do love going for walks. Like long, and then they stop every 10 seconds to go for a piss.
Yeah.
I'm just explaining the current process that I'm going through. I think he's actually entertained. But no, I think there's a real avenue when you've got like why do you there's a question for you. Why do you need 14 coaches?
I mean, it's an interesting one. It certainly is. I think it gets to the point where you just have like too much money and trying to figure out what to sort of do with it. Is sort of like justifying the as well as just kind of like being there as well as like justifying why you were there. It's like, well, I can also do this, this, and this. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy. I mean, you talk about passing game coordinators and running game coordinators. Why can't you just have the offensive coordinator just coordinate
Correct.
all of them? I'm pretty sure John
Why
Fox
can't
said
the
something
special
like that.
why can't the special team coordinator also be the punting coordinator and the long snapping coordinator and the lad who goes get the drinks coordinator? Like what there's just lads like and could you name honestly, can you name 5 coaches outside of the 3 head coach, offensive coach, defensive coach?
No,
The
is the
last
answer.
5 years.
And I'll be honest with you, right? I don't care that much. Like I know,
No.
like you see the off season happens, right? And then everyone starts going, "Oh, I heard we're going to bring in this tight end coach, and that's a great pickup." Fine. It might be. I'm not going to get excited about it. I'm sorry,
But
but
no one's ever heard of the lad before.
there's so many things that folk get excited about in this sport that I just can't get excited about or upset about. Right now, in terms of the schedule release, right, I can get it to a point in that you want to start planning when you're going to go places and thinking ahead and all that kind of stuff. Like absolutely. Generally speaking, we already knew who the Bears are going to pick. Doesn't really matter what order it's done, who they're going to play. Does it really matter what order it's done in? Probably not.
No.
You want to know when the bye week is? Absolutely. You want to know who you're playing week 1 because it's exciting? Absolutely. But after that, it just sort of happens. It's one of those kind of sports where things sort of just everything gets overinflated. People were losing their minds on Twitter the other day because of jersey numbers and this player's.
Get over yourself.
It was a fuck. Who gives? Who cares? No one cares. I don't care. I don't know why you would care.
And do you know what was worse, man? There was lads going, "Oh, it's okay," before they get to us. Before the season, he'll have gone to number 13. It's like no one. It's like don't remind me of it. It was like someone going for a pee, and everyone else looking around, going, "Oh, what number does his pee have?" It was just like who cares if the new rookie wide receivers at 87 or 82 or 12? Who cares? And this obsession with the number 0. Oh, the Bears. And then you know what I heard? We've got the what was it they said? The lads, all the amount of jerseys that we've put into the Hall of Fame or whatever, retired. We have to unretire the jerseys.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Why are we retiring jerseys? Hypothetically speaking, right? You could get the situation where you have so many great players in your team, and you end up retiring all these jerseys. What are folk going to wear? Why are we retiring jerseys? Why can't we just say that this guy was a great player, stick him in the Hall of Fame, and that's that? He can be number 7, and this guy can be number 7, and that it's a number. It's a number. I just feel like. I don't know why these things get to people. It's a very strange situation for me, man. I can't grasp it. But
remember the big, I don't know what it was like. It was Colin, but I remember the big deal when lads moved jersey numbers halfway through the season or something, and all these kids had bought all the jerseys. That one I get. So you've got kids as well. Like imagine your son came to you and said, "I want to have Caleb's jersey number 18, love it," and suddenly he moves to 13. You look like a dope, and you have to spend another $1,000 or whatever it is on the price of jerseys because that's another conversation for another day. But the jersey numbers thing, you're right on that. That's just pathetic.
Yeah, 100%. And Lee in the chat here saying that now we'll have the next 2 weeks of everyone doing predictions on win losses, which will
be Jesus Christ.
To be
Oh,
fair, right? To be fair, it is a bit daft, right? But at the same, it's kind of interesting to look and have a think about where the Bears could be. After the first four games before they go into the bye. Realistically, I mean, we don't know who they're playing week 3 and 4 yet. I'm kind of checking my phone as we're talking here to see if anything else comes up. But it's interesting to think ahead to that, I suppose. But we already know who the Bears are going to play. Based off of what you've seen from them last year, and obviously what's happened. If you were to try and put a number at this point just now, where do you think this team is? Do you think that they have made decent strides over the off season, enough to get up to double figures and maybe even make it into the kind of playoffs or whatever? Or
see,
are they
it's so.
ahead of that, or are we still where we were? Like, what are you thinking at the minute?
We're a better football team than where we are, but a lot of these things depend on injuries. A lot of these, like, remember we went after London. What were we, 4-2?
Yeah,
We were Hail Mary away from 5-2,
yeah,
and then we won one game for the rest of the season. So it's very difficult to a lot of this is momentum. I'm of the belief you want your easy games to start with.
yeah,
So I would always be of the belief that you want 4 or 5 games at the start that are the easy schedule to get it motoring. So suddenly you won 3, 4, 5 of them, and suddenly you're into bigger games and you got confidence in it. It breeds on top of that. But that's like it's just I find this interesting around where we see the Bears because I keep on going back to this about the NFC North. Um, it's it's the toughest division in the league, and therefore it just brings more pressure to that. So I get it, Lee. One game at a time. I totally agree with you. You could go to the Vikings, lose that, lose to the Lions. Suddenly you're 0-2, and now the pressure starts to ramp up because there's expectation levels, and then the third game becomes a absolute must-win scenario. And that's the stress of any sport, but that's the stress of the NFL as well. And it becomes yeah, it's dog eat dog. It's there's a lot of real kind of I wouldn't suggest anyone should eat dogs, but you get my point. It gets really kind of intense around just pressure about building. So therefore, I think it's very difficult to make schedule predictions because of that and because
mm,
of the pressure that's built around individual games. I think you look at the Vikings as an opener, win that, and then see where you're going to Lions. Lions, if you win that against the Vikings, suddenly the Lions game becomes not easy, much easier conversation because then it's a free shot almost. And you get to
mhm.
go at okay, we go to there and God, we win that. Suddenly we're on a roll and we've got two of our divisional games out the way and we won two in a row. If you lose it, you're still going, look, it's 1-1. We're going into week 3 to try and go 2-1. So it's an unbelievable one. I think the big one for me is to make Soldier Field a fortress. So we got that would be my goal for this season is to win as many of the home games as we can, if not all of them. Obviously. But getting those wins against the divisional rivals, getting those wins that you strive to go into the fourth quarter and you win it because you're at home. And then anything else, because I know our away schedule is really tough, anything else is a bonus. That's how I would look at it.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you talk about last season. Obviously, we were 4-2 at the start of the year, and then for the rest of the season, you win one more game the whole year, sort of thing. It was a bad situation to be in, and I remember because myself and Kieran from the Irish Bears show, we were in the press area after the game. It was weird, right? Because obviously we just won 35-16 or 17 or whatever the score was like. So everybody was really upbeat. It was great. We got the win sort of thing. But do you know what I mean? That there were things that had happened over those first few games where you were kind of like, well, there's still bits to fix here. This isn't perfect. Like there's things that are happening. There's decision making that's happening from a coaching point of view as well, which are a bit iffy. Yeah, we got the wins, absolutely. And there was this sort of like feeling that no one wanted to ask any negative questions. It was all very, you got the win, super, well done. And I kicked myself for maybe not questioning things a bit when I was in there, sort of thing. Maybe I should have. Again, first time we'd been in that sort of environment, so it was a totally different scenario. But
While you were doing that, I was roaming the stands like a normal fan, and I got stopped and someone asked me for a photograph. Jeez, I thought I was the biggest star in the world. Thought it was great. and actually had 2 photographs, which is even more amazing. But I remember watching that game and thinking,
Can you remember who it was that asked for your photograph?
I can't remember. He was there with his girlfriend, and he said he watched me from the shed, which I thought was both creepy and fun. But it was a good crack.
From his
I
own
remember
shed
coming back.
or in your own shed?
Maybe
Oh,
he was. Maybe he was. Maybe he's got a photograph of me in the shed. Maybe he does. Please, if it's one of the lads in the chat, please let me know, because he was a very nice lad. And his poor girlfriend turned around to him and said, "Jesus, I've been hearing about you guys all the time." Which is, I suppose, both good and bad. I don't know which one is better.
you know what's happening, by the way, right now in that guy's shed, wherever he lives in the
I
world.
don't want to know what's happening
There's
in the
a
shed,
picture.
Tony.
There's a picture of you on the wall. There's probably candles either side, some sort of
Or if there
altar
is.
thing going on. I'm saying it just sounds a
He's
bit.
not the only one. He's not the only one, Tony. There's many a candlelit thought process when they just see me. They go, "How could you not?" If I'm completely honest. Me and me turtleneck
Uh,
shaved. I look, I do my best. It's a
the, the,
Scandinavian part of me. And
we'll
I'm in
all wear
Viking.
turtlenecks the next game we go to, man. But yeah, no, like I wish we'd sort of questioned that a bit more, because I think it's easy to get carried away, and evidently the Bears weren't a good enough team because they only won one game in the last, for the rest of the season at that point. So, I think it's important not to get too carried away with anything that happens in the first few games, because there are still everybody sort of like settling in to the season. Not just the Bears, but the teams that you're playing against as well. So, it sometimes takes a little bit to get going, but hopefully this season, things are different. And I think the big thing is, and you mentioned it there, right? You mentioned it's good to get your easy games out of the way. I don't actually think there are any easy games. Like who did we start off against last season? The Titans, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and we should have lost that game. We had 2
That was
interceptions to win that
that
game. We
was
were awful that
closer
game.
closer than it probably should have been at part of points as well. So that those there should have been red flags showing at that point there, sort of thing. But so I don't think there's any easy games at all, and I think coming up against the Vikings and the Lions for the first 2 weeks is going to be a huge challenge. But I think it'll show how far this team has come if they're able to kind of get there. And if you certainly get the win in the opening week, I think that's what you want to be aiming for. If you go up to Detroit in the second week and you don't win, it's not the end of the world, I don't think. In terms of Detroit, and I mean, I know there's a lot of changes there in terms of their coaching and all that kind of stuff, but there's still a lot of the same players there. They all respond to the head coach the same way. I'm sure they'll be just as good, or there or thereabouts anyway, of a sort of team, so I think if you get a win week 1, and if you don't get a win week 2, it's probably not the end of the world, because you're going to get a chance to play the Lions again at the end of the season after you've gone through another few months of sort of playing at that point. So I think that revenge tour might take a wee bit longer than everybody would like, and it might just be that settling in. But you never know. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe I'm just totally traumatized by watching Bears teams in the last few years and just thinking that we're going to shit the bed every time we go out there. So
I think
Ben, prove me wrong, man. Prove me wrong.
I think that's a fair one. Look, to the 331 people who are desperately watching the Two Tonys podcast on Twitter, make sure you jump over to YouTube and jump over and get involved in the comments and talk about how hopefully one of the 331 was the person with the photograph. That would be kind of fun. Or even with the get your turtleneck conversations in if you all wear turtlenecks too.
It's
Yeah,
actually the same guy with these 331 phones set up at the minute around his house.
yeah, basically what Tony's saying there is we've got one fan, and that just happens to happen. No, he's up to 335. He must have brought his mates along.
And we
I think
appreciate
there's
it.
we do appreciate it. The more the better. I think from my perspective, the Vikings are an interesting one because you don't know what they're like. We all thought they were a bit of a fraud 14-win team, if I'm honest. Definitely their defensive coordinator won them a lot of games. Aaron Jones won them a lot of games. And then you got the Lions, who this is the question on Lions. Did they shoot their shots and miss it last year? And how that's going to impact, because they've lost their defensive coordinator, they've lost their offensive coordinator, they've replaced from within, which is a brave move. Whether it's going to be successful, we don't know. Dan Campbell is going to have to do a lot of hand holding, I think, and then throw in the fact Hutchinson's still not fit. Doesn't sound like he'll be fit anytime soon. And then you've got they didn't have any like massive moves in free agency, massive moves in the draft either. So that's going to be interesting. How people give it. And look, as I said, get over when you're on Twitter, come over to YouTube and give us your thoughts on it. Give us your thoughts on the show as well, because we want to hear feedback from people. Do you want to listen to the two Tonys? I think that's a fair question.
I think you would. I think we could talk about a lot of things and people would listen. That's what I think.
You know what? Let's do that. Let's find before we go back to the Bears. Let's have 5 minutes on like random stuff.
Okay, go for it. We'll be talking about.
So I'm gonna go with random, like basically a pop quiz on getting to know your Tonys.
Okay, right? Let's do it.
Like let's do it. So let's go and get involved in this now when you can. What's your favorite drink?
Are we classing the drinks alcoholic and non-alcoholic?
Yes, let's go one non-alcoholic, one alcoholic.
So non-alcoholic, I love a pint of milk.
Oh,
I have at least 2 or 3 pints of milk a day. I'm a milk guy, man. Like, and touch wood, I've never broken a bone. So maybe there's something in that. I don't know. And I used to play American football and everything, and I've never broke a bone. Touch wood. Yeah. So the milk for definite, and the alcoholic is Guinness. I go through several cans a week, and the cans aren't.
I was going to say an hour.
I fucking wish. I wish, man. I wish, but the cans aren't as good as going for a draft, obviously. But I don't have a pub in the house. And I mentioned the other week that I have got the Guinness Nitro Surge thing. And Guinness aren't paying me here, but it's the closest that you're going to get yet. It's the closest that you're going to get to a pint without going to the pub. So if you haven't got a Guinness Nitro Surge device, which I'll show you the next time we're on, get one. In fact, I'll tell you what, I'll pour a pint the next time we're on using it. And you can tell me what you think of it. I'll do it live on camera for people to watch, and then I'll also pour one from a regular can. You can see the difference.
This is riveting. This is what we want on the two Tonys. For me, there's a drink over here in Sweden called Julmust, right?
Right.
And it's only for Christmas time, and I can't explain it. It's like a soft drink, but it's sugary. It's actually really nice. So Julmust, and then they bring it out for Easter and call it something else, but it's the exact same thing. That's the Swedes. And then alcoholic, I've kind of flicked a little bit now, if I'm honest. So yeah, like an old pint of lager, that's quite nice. But I have, man, because I've got old. I do like me wine. Like, and then Johnny found, and this shows how old I am now. Found in the thing called System Lager over here, which is like an off license, and they only open Monday to Saturdays. It's closed at 3 o'clock on Saturday, and they don't open Sunday. Irish people go mad. Anyway, so I found box wine. Jesus, right. I was delighted myself, a rosé box wine. I was raging. I bought the wrong one last week, but the box wine. I sit there, I'll be watching a Bears game now, drinking a little glass of wine with my turtleneck on. I think I'll be great.
You just put the turtleneck on for lounging around the house as well. Like a turtleneck. I mean, I've never owned a turtleneck because it's not 1990.
I'll buy you one. But, it'd be our signature. Turtlenecks would be our signature. Go on.
Love it, man. I might get one now just for the shits and giggles. I've never. So you've got a turtleneck for different events, different times.
Yeah, so you've got different turtlenecks, right? So you've got turtlenecks for work, turtlenecks for like relaxing, turtlenecks for going out partying. You've loads of different turtlenecks. You can have them different colours and everything. The Swedes loved them. I've been living here for 3 years. The Swedes loved them. I love it. This is great. What a question from Lee. Has Aunt eaten the smelly dish in a can yet? Right. So yes.
Is that a euphemism?
No.
I don't know what that means.
No. So I'll explain it. Right. So it's fragmented or fragmented fish. It's disgusting. It's repulsive, right? You open the can, basically you can't open the can inside. That's the best way I can explain it to you. And yeah, it's pretty rank. I wouldn't be asking you to do anything, but yeah, I know what he's talking about. But they were very, very impressive people of the. I was going to say the Irish Bear Show for a second because my brain went back for a second. But the two Tonys Bearsy podcast, there's some really impressive people in that. Right, that's getting to know. And there's now AKA Austin Powers. Love it. Yeah, so that's getting to know your Tonys. I think we should do that on a regular basis. Just ask like one question. I'm all for it. I'm all for this.
I'm absolutely up for I'm gonna just. I think this is where you're going though. Eventually, can anybody see that?
I need the chain. And look at the rock. Look at the rock. What's he wearing a thing over his whatever you want to call it? What's that about?
But
That looks
you need a
horrendously bad.
chain. You need a chain on the outside of the turtleneck, and you need what and the American people call a fanny pack, which in
Fanny
Scotland
pack.
means a very different thing. And
Yeah, totally, completely different. Oh my god, you have a lovely
uh,
fanny. That's not great.
oh shit, what's going on
We've
here?
got
What's
a
that?
black screen because like my
There we go.
turtleneck. That's what you want.
There we go. Oh
Um,
no, I'm JJ
no.
McCarthy and you're Caleb Williams. What's going on? Yeah. So
That's what you want. Totally agree. Totally agree. Just complete laugh. I tell you that would be lovely to people to watch me running around. I think that should be our signature. Just saying. Just throwing it out there. The two Tonys Bearsy Turtleneck podcast. Just
see, to be honest with you, see when we were in Chicago a couple of years ago for that dreaded Thursday night football game
Jesus,
against the
remember that?
Commanders, I was freezing my balls off, man. It was so cold where we were sitting, and I would have hugely benefited from one of your turtlenecks, man. That would have been a game changer. So I'm thinking maybe this could be a thing. Absolutely, guys. If you would like to see turtlenecks make a comeback from the 1990s where they belong, then
He's
let us
talking
know.
about from the 1990s. It's not my fault. There's no fashion in Scotland. I can't help that.
Jeez, you've been spending too much time in Sweden, man. Like, anyway, so
No, here's a question. Can I do the rock? No, I can't. I can't do the rock eyebrow. No, but I want to.
so
If I'm
I would
completely
like to
honest.
see because generally people who can't lift up one eyebrow when they try just look very confused
Like me, basically, like that.
or surprised. Oh, I love it, man. That's good.
This is what the lovely concept that we wanted. This is what I wanted in the show. Random stuff.
Can I
Lee's
say
going
we've got 400 people watching? It's just now.
372. How have we got 372 legends? Love it. Keep going. Right. Favorite Bears player and non-favorite non-Bears and what? And have non-Bear player. Okay, I understand what you mean. So my favorite. I'm going to surprise people with my favorite Bears player right now. Andrew
Okay.
Billings.
Oh,
My
100%.
favorite Bears, because you know why? Because remember when he was taken, there was people going, "Oh, what a waste of money! He's just fat." I
Mhm.
massively missed that lad. Massively missed last year. Favorite non-Bears player, just what would I say now? Obviously, Mahomes will stand there because that's whatever. But who would I say that I'd love to? I know you're probably going to say George Pickens, but who would I go with for non-Bears player that I think is? See, I don't really focus on other teams. Oh no, actually, that's not true. Justin Jefferson. I
Yeah,
just think the lads that probably one of the best wide receivers I've ever seen.
which
Honestly.
ties in nicely with the theme of what we're talking about tonight as
Yeah,
well. But yeah, I
turtlenecks.
mean, to be honest with you, if I don't see Caleb Williams, right, then after all the hooting and hollering that I did to try and get him in the door over the past 2 years, then I would go back on myself. So yeah, but I don't know. It's only his second season, but for me, I've got to pick my QB as my guy. He's the guy that's going to unlock this whole thing for us. So yeah, Caleb Williams is my favorite Bears player. I got my Caleb Williams jersey just at the end of last season as well, and it's the only current Bears jersey I've got. Every other one has to stay in the cupboard because the players don't play for them anymore. And it's not as if it's like legendary players. I've actually got a Kyle Fuller Bears jersey. Do you remember Kyle Fuller?
Yeah, I
Corner,
do.
yeah,
Cornerback safety, wasn't it? Cornerback or safety. I
corner
remember
man.
I have a David Montgomery jersey that's gone, a Mac jersey that's gone. I don't know how many Justin Fields jerseys I had. Two, I think. I got one for free. And then I think I have
They were
another one
giving them
then
away.
from I had an Erlinger one, but I don't particularly like him at the moment, so I went with that. So who's your favorite non-Bears player?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, difficult one. It's a difficult one. I do like Travis Kelce. I'll be honest with you. I know people don't like since he started dating famous people. He seems to be I don't know, maybe off the boil a wee bit, but I think generally speaking, he's just an excellent sort of player, and I like that sort of guy being in your team as well. I'd love a guy like that in my team, and maybe we do have that guy in the team already. But yeah, you can't go wrong with guys like that. But yeah, I don't know, it's difficult, man. I got different players that I like that play in different positions. I wasn't sure whether he was saying non-Bears players and like just not a football player, like he played some other sport or something like that. But
Brilliant. If that's the case, right, I love it. So if we're gonna go with Bears players and non-Bears player, which means any human in the world, right?
who plays sport?
Because I was going to go with a puppy or something. I like anything at all that I could find. Non-Bears players are not that play sport. Jesus, that could be anything or anybody. God, who's my favourite Bears non-Bears player? Sport. That's a tough one.
It's got to be a West Ham guy, surely.
No, West Ham do be wrecking me head now because it's all about Premier League money. I've no interest in that. What's the rugby or
loving
at
it.
the moment? You love it because Celtic are
Cork City player.
Cork City. They signed a guy called Rory Keating, who's a good player. They signed a guy called Shawnee Maguire, who played for Ireland a couple of times. Both of them are injured and they're probably going to get relegated. But that's going back to my local team. That's probably it. And then in Sweden, right? This is the lovely tangent you moved into. Sweden, right? In Gothenburg have around 10 teams, right? And everybody supports. Yeah, they've got like Geis, IFK, Häcken. They've loads of different teams, right? So Häcken lives around the corner for me. But here's the weird part: they all play in the same stadiums. So IFK
guys to try and organise the games the way.
It's a pain to hold. And then when you play, you're meant to have a home game against IFK, but it's actually in the same stadium. But your fans then go to the away end, even though that's your home stadium. It's weird, like. Yeah, that's a little nice.
Could you imagine the world where because they were talking about, with this Bear Stadium thing, and they might move out of the city and all this kind of stuff, and then the possibility of having another team play at Soldier Field at some point. How do you think Chicago would react if they had another NFL franchise there? Like, New York.
The Cardinals in Chicago.
New York Jets, New York Giants type effort. Could that happen? How would they build a fan base when the Bears have been there for so long?
That's the problem, I'd say. That's the problem. They wouldn't be able to do it. And I hate this whole take your team and leave scenario. Suddenly you wake up one morning and it's no longer Chicago Bears, it's now the Arizona Bears. Look, I'd still support them because it's not the city of Chicago who I support. It's Chicago Bears. It's something that annoys me though when I saw it actually. Brisker put it out Twitter, and it shouldn't annoy me, but it does. Oh, I want to win for the city of Chicago. It always gets me, whatever little bit of hair I have in my head, it always gets me a little bit annoyed because it's like, well, hold on. And I actually said it to him, well, not to him personally, but I replied to his Twitter, which he obviously ignored. But when I was like, there's not just fans in Chicago. Like it's something that does wreck my head, and especially considering they all came over to London and experienced that firsthand. It does kind of annoy me a little bit. I get a bit peeved with that. But yeah.
What are your general thoughts? And I'm just picking your brain now here, but what's your general thoughts on having more games outside of the US? Now, obviously, we've got the first Irish game is going to be in Dublin later on this season, which is excellent. You're still going to have your 4 games in London. You got one in Madrid. You got one in
Brazil.
Brazil, and then one in Munich as well. So that's 7, 8 games, something like that. Which in the grand scheme of things is a small number, right? But I think Roger Goodell was quoted as saying something that, eventually they're going to have games in this place and that place and this place and that place.
Do you know what I would do? I'd make it 1 week. So let's say week 12 is the international week. And every single team has to leave the States. Just for 1 week. And then it's a bye in week 13 or something. Everyone's on a bye week for week 13, so they can all get a chance to recover. Because obviously, if you fly to Dublin or London versus flying to like Hong Kong or wherever, there obviously is a challenge in that. But I would do that. I would honestly look at doing that. Pick your 1 week, week 12 or middle of the season or whatever it is, and every single team gets flown wherever that goes. I think that's a fair one because I understand in the States, because at the end of the day, it is the NFL, it is American football, it's an American sport, and to have the teams all over the place, which means it does impact. Now, it does wreck my head when like, oh my God, I have to wake up at 10 a.m. to watch the Bears play. We have to wake up.
Can you do that accent for the rest of the show?
Oh my God, awesome. Oh my God, awesome. we've increased to
We've just
384 since I did my accent. So that's
we've
that's
just
that's a
lost
good.
100 viewers.
We just
That's
lost
the
viewers
we haven't.
everywhere. No, I just find that a little bit annoying, but I do think there is an avenue because there is NFL just loads of money, get loads of money, so there is an avenue. Like honestly, and I'm not just saying this. Over here in Sweden, every single Sunday night football game is shown live. The
Yeah.
Monday night game is shown live, and it's a big deal. Now it is hilarious. You have the Swedish commentators, which is absolutely the funniest thing you've ever seen in your life, trying to commentate in American football because they have no emotion connected to the commentary. Touchdown. It's just deadpan. It's actually very funny. But yeah, I think there's. I
Yeah, what
agree
I
with
think
this.
you need to have is like see your Spanish football commentators. I think
Brilliant.
you need to have that for every sporting event. They're the most excitable guys in the world, and I love it. And I think that's the way it should be. But yeah, no. How is your Swedish? How do you follow what they're saying? Okay, or is it just
I,
like a
I got
mute
it.
job effort?
I,
Like,
a little bit. I'm getting taught. A good friend of mine who was teaching me Swedish, right? And to be
mm,
fair to her, she's got like patience of an absolute saint because I am dumb as two bricks. So like my memory span now that I'm the age I am, quite difficult to learn an accent this age, and my memory span does be hard. But no, I follow what they're saying. And then they do a bit of Swinglish as well, which is half Swedish, half English, and they kind of merge the two together. But it's
swing.
Swinglish. But it's no, it's good. It's good. I'm getting there. I'm starting to learn important things like I don't know what a drink is and what a plate is, and what a knife and fork is, and stuff like that.
Right. I know
Important
that
stuff.
sounds good. That sounds good. Listen, want to just have a quick chat about all the trade chat that's going on just now? Trey
Oh, talking
Hendrickson.
Bears, brilliant. I forgot.
I
We
figured
seem
we
to
should
have.
swing it
We kind
around.
of should bring it into the Bears, really, considering it is a Bears podcast. But somehow we haven't lost many
It's
viewers.
a
So
Bears A podcast. It's a
Bears E
Bears.
podcast.
That's the key thing here, right? That's the hue of the podcast. That's the theme of the podcast. However, we are not tied down. We have no script. We have no schedule. We make this up mostly as we go along. So anyway, Trey Hendrickson, what are your thoughts on that idea? What are you willing to give up for a fella like Trey? The milk Trey man. There you are.
Oh, boom. I don't. Oh, by the way, Karen Alert is a great call. I don't look. He's a great player. Would he add to the? Would he add to us? Yes. Would I be willing to start trading stuff for him now? No. Not saying he's not a superstar, but what they'd want for him. We're not a Hendrickson away from competing. I really don't think we are. I think we need to find our own version of it. If I'm honest, I think you'll find we will end up picking another couple of pieces up, but it won't be a high expensive one. I think we'll spend money on renewing some of our own players, getting those contracts down so that we can get under the cap. And then maybe go after a running back, as you say. Trey Hendrickson would what? What do you think he'd want? They'd want the second, maybe
Yeah.
holding out together. They definitely want the second, and maybe something else, fourth or a fifth. Yeah. Look, I wouldn't want them signing for the Lions. I wouldn't want them signing for the Packers. Wouldn't want them signing for the Vikings. He's a very good player. Would I be happy if he joined? Yeah. Would I be happy if they gave up a second and a fourth? Let's say. I really wouldn't. I think it's just a little bit too expensive for me.
I sorry, my wife just sent me a message. I think she must be watching the show in another room, and she just said, "Does Ant think he is Howard Wolowitz?" Uh,
Boom,
so there you go.
boom.
Anyway,
I did get a message from my partner, pretty much saying the same thing as well. If I'm completely honest, what
sorry,
what have you done?
I'm going to
What
stop
have
going
you
on about the turtleneck.
What have you done? What have you done since you went away? Basically, I think I look fashionable, but that's okay. That's
I don't
I think
listen. You look continental, man. You look like a guy who I would find with a baguette in Paris somewhere. But anyway, Trey Hendrickson, right? The way I look at it, right, is if you're giving up a
Geraldine, Geraldine, Geraldine never said to me what exactly whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. By the way, you got to find that question out.
I will follow up on that and let you
Please
know.
do. Thank you.
Trey Hendrickson, like, see for me, right? We've given up a second round pick and a wee bit more for worse players than that. You know,
Chase Label.
there's decisions that have been made we'd look back now, you go, man, that was a waste of time. I'm not sure that Henriksen would come under that. I think it might, if you give up a second and a fourth. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Fair enough, the guy's 30. I think he's going to be 31 by the end of the season. But he's coming off of back-to-back years of 17 and a half sacks. Do you know what I mean? Like 17 and a half sacks in 2024, 17 and a half sacks in 2023. Over the last 5 years, just looking at the numbers here, he has averaged just 70 sacks in the last 5 seasons. That's 12 per year on average. I mean, it's consistent. It's absolute consistency. He hasn't really had any touch wood. He hasn't had any big injuries. Not for a while anyway. And I said the ones he did have weren't huge. More importantly, though, he knows the system. He worked with Dennis Allen for 3 years in New Orleans. So there's a situation there where he comes in, fits in quite quickly, and could make an instant impact. And looking at Sportrack, he's 18 million a year or something, or he's on cap hits 18.6 million just now. You bring him in, you extend him, you front load it, or you may we've talked about the cap before. You can make things work with that. I think I would make that move because outside of Montez Sweat and Dio, can't pronounce his surname, don't have much there, in terms of pass rush. So why not make it a strength? Why not make it a strength? You're not having to get first round picks here. You're talking about a second and a fourth, second and a fifth, something like that. I think I could be convinced it's a good move.
I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying, and it is I just don't see it as a move they're going to make now. I don't think we're him away from competing. Or not competing, winning anything. Could be wrong. I just think we need to get the offense right first. I think if we're going to go and trade for somebody, I'd be much more comfortable in going after another position, to try and make that offense. If we're going to go that way, look to get a left tackle, maybe a proper if we're going to go that way, that's what we think. I don't think they are though. I think Paul's likes having his picks, second round. I know he went after Claypool. I think he accepts that it was a mistake. But I think overall you've got a real. Now maybe I've been, as you just said, maybe I've been burnt with the second round wastes. That it's got me in my head going, this isn't the right move. Maybe that's naive of me. Claypool is definitely one that stands out straight away with that. But we've done other moronic stuff. Here's
a question for you then, right? We gave up a second for Montez Sweat.
Yeah. No, was it a second? I thought it was a third.
I think it was was it not a second? I'm pretty sure it was a second. Guys, can someone confirm that it was a second we gave up for Montez Sweat? I'm pretty sure that it was. Hold on. Look, checking the old Wikipedia. Just so
they did second round. You're right.
I mean, I was right. I'm always right. I'm not.
Here we go. I'm always right. Love it. Get that turtleneck on you. Go on.
Aye. So you give up a second for Montez Sweat. Henriksen's a better player. You give up a second and a fourth? Absolutely. Were you all right with the Montez Sweat trade at the time?
At the time, yeah, I probably was because I think we were so desperate for any player. I'm completely honest.
Yeah.
And I think there's another one that needs to perform this year, Montez Sweat.
And there's another fella. Never had a double-digit sack season ever.
But to be fair to him, he was the only pass rush man last year, and he had a good season the year before when the first year he came in, and he's a good player, and I think he will benefit massively from the moves we made in the inside defensive line. He will massively benefit from that because there's so many pass rushable players now in the inside defensive line, that it's going to make it interesting. I get your point around Hendrickson. I do. I think that'll be. I rephrase that. If we took him, I wouldn't be sad. I just don't. I just think it's a little bit high. But I understand them, as you said, as you explained perfectly. I understand the whole thought process to why.
Do you know what? It's kind of like when you go to a place, a kind of fancier place, or just a more expensive place, and you order a pint, and then the guy turns around and says, "That'll be £7," and you're like, "Jesus, £7 for a pint? That's horrendous. Why would anybody pay that?" And then you take a drink and you go, "Actually, that was fantastic. That's a
And then
good
you're
pint."
4 points later, 28 quid down, thinking this is the greatest day of my life.
Yeah.
I agree. It's a bit like going to a restaurant, though.
Trade. That's the trade, man. That's what's going to happen.
We got it all sus. Get on to Ryan Pauls now. Tell him to have a pint. Actually, do you think Ryan Pauls has a pint?
I don't think he's a pint guy. I think he's like you. I think he's quite fancy. I think he sits in his turtleneck, sipping a Chateau Neuf de Pop.
Chateau Neuf. Oh my God, Jesus! What age are you? Love it, love it. Do you ever drink wine, Tony?
I do. I actually drink wine pretty much weekly, but
it's all coming out now. He's 7 points an hour in his weekly wine bottles. This is the Tony conversation that we need to have.
I don't. Just for the record, I don't have a.
Well, we've just hit 400 people watching, so come on over, because at the moment it's just Lee talking. So while I love Lee getting involved, and Lee's probably our most famous fan in the sense of he's an absolute superstar, always follows us, always gets involved. So don't just leave Lee on his own.
Yeah. Big
shout out. Last 10 minutes.
To Lee on there. We've had a few other folk in the chat as well. JC, who are you, man? Tell us who you are. All you've put in here is a small rock. Oh, that's you. You're a small rock, right?
That's
okay,
a small rock, because it was the Rocky thing, and I think that's impressive that it's a small
pebble.
Rock. Basically, yeah. So the person thinks my head looks like a pebble in essence. So I'm impressed.
That's good.
No, so we got 400 people, which is quite impressive for episode 4. So
episode 4 for 400 for episode 4. So we want 500 for next week for definite.
And we want to sponsor as well. If anyone wants to sponsor us just for the crack.
Guinness, Chateau Neuf de Pop,
the Turtlenecks
Company. What was the name of those Swedish sweets as well? Those guys.
Oh yeah, Bila. Yeah, if we can get those lads to spot, they're minted as well. You move them there. They want to do it.
Bilal, they're fantastic.
Coca-Cola want to sponsor us. We're open. We will sell our souls for whatever.
Within reason.
Great.
Within
so
reason.
before we go any further in the last few minutes, I don't see them doing a trade. We've talked about the Vikings. We've talked about the Lions. Let's throw one last one in before you have to head off to your amazing children.
Okay.
Ask the question of this, right? How much pressure is Caleb Williams under? And before you answer, can't say he hasn't been given an offensive line. Mm-hmm. Can't say he hasn't been given more weapons. Can't say they haven't spent money on different type of weapons. Can't say they haven't spent money on coaches. So the coaching system is much better offensively. The mindset of the whole organization is offensively driven, which with him at the core of that, right? And while I disagree with so many people, I thought he played well last year. Wasn't exceptional. Didn't have a coaching ticket that wanted him to throw the football. So it'll be a completely different one. And I've said it all along. He will throw more interceptions this year than he did last year. A lot more. But he'll throw more touchdown passes. But in saying all that, so they've set up, all the stuff is set up for him. How much pressure do you think he's under?
Huge pressure. Now, it'll hopefully be managed in the sense that he feels the pressure, or rather, a good coach knows how to motivate a player and knows how a player best responds, what sort of method you need to use to get this player to respond. So hopefully all these millions of coaches, and in particular Ben Johnson, can identify that they can get him to perform to the level that we know he's capable of. But yeah, this is it. This is the big year, because everything that's been done this off season and last off season, the combination of the two things have been, gradual things that have been done for him to help him unlock everything that's going to happen. Building that offensive line, bringing in the wide receivers, bringing in the new tight end, bringing in the offensive mastermind, the head coach, bringing all these other guys in as well. Keeping your defense playing at a high level to enable you to have more time on the ball in the offense. It's all there for him. So,
Yep.
if you get to the end of the season that's coming up and you still, I think, I'm not saying that the guy has to take us to the Super Bowl this year, right? But I think everybody needs to know that I think everybody needs to be in the same frame of mind by the end of the year. And I think it has to be obvious, like we could look at him play and identify things that are happening and things that are going well. And other people will look at a game and go, aye, but he scored all these points in the last 2 minutes and it didn't really count. Or he didn't do this and he hung on to the ball too long. And, they'll just point out the negatives because for them, nothing consistently remarkable has been happening. Whereas I think if you sort of get to that point, I think you get more people go, actually, you can't deny that was great or whatever. And I think that can come. That can definitely come. But listen, there's a lot of pressure on this guy, as well there should be. As well, there should be pressure on you every game. You're getting paid like Scrooge McDuck to go out there and play a game. So the pressure is justified, it's deserved, and you need to be able to respond to it. What's the old thing that old JR Jim Ross used to say on the wrestling? Pressure either creates diamonds or burst pipes. So, be a diamond, Caleb. And,
that was the most
you'll get a diamond. You'll get a diamond ring.
Unmotivational speech. That was the most unmotivational speech I'd say that lad would ever have heard in his life. Be a diamond.
It's 10:15 at night, right?
It's 11 here. I'll say this on Caleb Williams. No, I'll say this on Caleb Williams before we go. I am very confident that he'll have a big season, but he has to. I'm with you on that. We can't have a scenario where at the end of the year we're going, yeah, next year's going to be his big breakthrough year. Next year, and this is what I think they've done. I think they've put it all up and said, right, it's all there for you. You've got 2 tight ends that can catch the football. You've got a running back room, even if we haven't got a running back that we wanted, still a decent running back room. Our inside offensive line is 75% better straight away, if not more. We've got another weapon in the second round. It should have been a first round pick. We've really, really solidified that. And we've got you an offensive head coach. And we've got you a real focus on successful scenarios. So you're going to now be under center. So that's different for you. So you have to learn that. Brand new scheme. So I have to accept you have to learn that too. But you now need to show why you're number 1 pick in the draft last year. And that's not a deterrent on him. I thought he played really well last year. I thought he was very unlucky. I think he was let down by his coaches. I think he was let down by some of the players. Some of the decisions that were made. He should have won 3 or 4 more games on his own. Like you look at the Washington game, everyone talks about the Hail Mary, but they forget about the play, the set of downs before that Caleb walked that team down the field. We lost to Green Bay because Santos misses the kick. What people forget is Caleb walked us down the field to get to that point. And there's 2 wins, 3 wins maybe. We could have won 8 games, and everyone said that's a really not successful, but a positive season. And I think, but in saying all that, they really are pushing the boat for him now. So there's real scenario where it's like, okay, and by the way, that's not just him. I would add Cole Kmet to that conversation. I would add DJ Moore to that conversation. I'd add Ron Mathunes to that conversation. I'd add Braxton Jones to that conversation. Keep going. Gervon Dexter. All those guys are now in a scenario where your place isn't safe. Not like you don't catch the football, you don't block, then we will throw the ball somewhere else, and you'll be sitting on the sideline. And I think from a Bears perspective, from my own thought process on that, I think that's massively beneficial.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think everything you're saying is spot on. I think there were so many games last season where we absolutely could have won. Even you talk about the Vikings game that went to overtime and finished 27-30, last season as well. Like it is when your team is still developing, it's absolutely a very, very close. It's a game of margins, it's always close calls that are making the difference. You need to get to that stage where at the end of the game, you're not talking about the one thing that happened. Like, one thing that happened shouldn't then just to say that you're going to win or lose. There's a whole game there, sort of thing. And a lot of the time we weren't taking advantage of what we should have been doing, sort of thing. So absolutely, we'll see how that sort of goes. And have we got anything else?
I think we're done. I think that's 4 episodes down, and we're still talking to each other.
Yeah, well, it's been a few years down, and we're still talking to each other. But
I know.
I know what you mean. Like, we haven't been on just the two of us since the draft. We've had a guest for the last couple of weeks, so
we had to be on our best behaviour.
We did. We didn't swear very much.
I know. We try our best.
I wasn't drinking last week. You were drinking last week, actually, weren't you?
I was drinking last week. Next week I'll be in Malmo. I'll be drinking there too. No. And no, I think we're nearly at a point where we can start thinking about. That's a question for Lee and everybody else of the 425 people who joined us. Thank you so much to every one of you. What do you want us to talk about? That's a great question. We should put that out in the Twitter feed. What do you want the two Tonys to talk about? Or do you know we should have a debate episode?
Yes.
All for that.
Yes.
And random debates. What chocolate is better? That kind of conversation.
What shopping is better?
Chocolate.
Oh, chocolate. Right, okay. Yeah. I think it's shopping. I was like, none. But I like food shopping. If you want to go into that conversation, we can have it. But yeah, well, listen, I will come up with a couple of things for next week. Guys in the chat, if you want to come up with a couple of things. Maybe you can get some folk on as well if you want to come on for a chat. Come on.
Lee, I'd love Lee to come on.
Lee, you're more than welcome, man, when you're back from Tunisia to come on and have a chat. Listen, just speaking about Twitter, there, just pop it on the screen at the Two Tories Pod. You can find us on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. Give us a follow. We'll give you a follow back. Look for us on YouTube. Look for us on. Where else are we on just now? I think that's pretty much it.
That's it.
But anyway, so well, listen, thanks very much, guys. 427 people currently watching us. We really do appreciate it. And as I say, we will be back next week. Don't know when. We will be back next week at some point. We'll get some of you guys on. We might have other guests on. We'll let you know close to the time. But until next week, have a lovely, lovely week. And remember to bear down.